Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So, another video. Man, it really is like the old days. I'm having a little bit of fun doing some videos lately, and it's been fun having good inspiration and quality content in order to kind of play off of a little bit. Obviously, the National is now underway. We're starting to see some of the day one and day zero content, so that's been a lot of fun for me to watch. We'll definitely talk a little bit more about that. Hopefully, like I said, I think I'm going to amalgamate some of my thoughts and put them together. We'll talk a little bit more on Friday, the not National, because I'm nowhere near that National, and the folks that I'll have on probably won't be either. Although maybe I'll invite some folks that maybe are down there if they're not too busy partying it up. Maybe we can get them to come on and at least say hello. But regardless, I wanted to touch on this video because this is not really a response to the video here we've got on the screen, although it was a good impetus for it, and it did remind me of something. So I want to kind of share the pieces that lead into it because that's been my style. Those of you who have been watching this channel for a while know that I'll take little inputs from here and there, or I'll take something and I'll play off of it. That's the reason why I've had a lot of fun doing the videos the last couple of years, is that I'm never out of ideas. I'm always kicking around 2 or 3 ideas in my head until I decide kind of how I want to present it or how I want to say it. And seeing this video here from Dakota, Sports Card Anonymous, today, where he basically it was a follow-up to a previous video that was kind of a tongue-in-cheek, kind of poking fun at Dustin, Sports Card Dad. And to be clear, you know, it was tongue-in-cheek, and then obviously in this case he has to kind of make a clarification video to emphasize that it was tongue-in-cheek, which is kind of funny. So it's very ironic in the kind of the way where we become in the space where people are so used to videos that kind of, you know, pick apart different things. And of course, those of you who watch my live stream know that I'm no stranger to having my fun poking fun at things that I don't like. But generally speaking, I try to make sure that you do understand the difference between a critique and between me taking kind of a pot shot at someone I genuinely don't like and me having a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek fun at someone's expense. You know, as far as that's concerned, like, believe me, if you guys knew half of the vicious jokes that we make with Dustin, where Dustin is involved, he's perfectly aware of the jokes that we'll make because he is in the conversation when we're roasting him. And that's different from an unsolicited attack. So the fact, obviously, Dakota had to make a video clarifying that is unfortunate because it's pretty clear fairly early on in the video that it was kind of poking fun at it. But I will say the upside of it is obviously, you know, drama draws clicks, so no complaints there. But then the second piece of it as well, and the purpose of this video is not really to harp on that for too long. I just want to make that point. But this video and kind of the response to it, and also how that plays into the idea of the hobby content space, sponsorships, people taking money and all of those things, that has been a little topic that has circulated around. And I look at the comments section. I read the comments that people write. And a lot of the response didn't surprise me because you get that tenor. And this space with the sports card space has always been a little weird for that. And I actually want to give you a little contrasting view, and that's the point of this video. Seeing Dakota's video here specifically kind of led me to think about a video that I saw a couple of years ago, and I'm going to share that video with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include a link to Dakota's video here if you want to get kind of the follow-up to it, if you only saw the first video, or if you have no idea what I'm talking about. This will explain it very briefly. He covers it in just a couple of minutes. But the other one I want to give you, I'm going to give you a link to a video from MKBHD. And if you're not familiar with him, he's a tech YouTuber. And he's a gigantic tech YouTuber. I think he's got over 15 million subscribers. So I want to kind of give you some context in terms of the size and scope of the relative reach. So if you think about 15 million subscribers, that is more than, like, if I take the top 10, maybe the top 20, maybe the top 30 biggest, I'm not doing the math in my head very well right now, but if I was to take not even, way more than that. But anyway, if I was to take a bunch of the top subscribed, you know, hobby channels, combine them all together, it barely puts a dent in 15 million subscribers. And in comparison, the amount of views that MKBHD can get in one single video dwarfs the total lifetime views of several of our channels. You just have to think about that, put it into context. So now comparatively, who do you think gets the bigger sponsorship deals? When you can command those many eyeballs, you can command big sponsorship deals. But he made a video that I thought was excellent that I'm going to share with you a little snippet of that I think is kind of fun, and it plays into this a little bit. And it's the direction that I actually want to take with this video. I wanted to give you a little intro to lead into it. The whole poking fun at Dustin is fun, but we know Dustin, so it's one of those things where we can poke fun. You can poke fun at your friends a certain way, and it's going to be a different context than somebody who doesn't know people too many well. And as a viewer, you can like or dislike different folks, and of course, that's always going to be the case. So some folks are going to like the stuff, some folks are not. I may not agree with everything Dustin does in his videos, or Dakota, or Neo, or anybody else that I know, or that I've done videos with, or that I've talked to. That doesn't mean I don't respect what they're doing. It means that I have my own opinion. It means I have my own approach. So I'm going to do my approach and they're going to do their approach, but I can respect it and then mercilessly make fun of them when the time is right. But mostly to their face. That's kind of the fun part of it. And usually with their dollars that I'm making fun of them. And that's how it should be. By the way, though, one clear point, which is 100% true, is that the cartoon, formerly Personal Finance Dad and Sports Car Dad, the cartoon one is a lie. It's a delusion of grandeur that Dustin has as pertains to how often he goes to the gym. It's a lie, and frankly, if any of you accepted that, you're part of the problem. In all honesty, you need to resolve that. We need an intervention for this man. This man needs help. He seriously needs help, and the sooner we can do that, the better. And that part, I'm 100% serious. Get this man some help. Anyway, that said, I want to share with you now. I'm going to do a little editing magic. I'm going to flip over to another video, and I want to play a snippet of it for you, because I actually think it's very interesting, and it plays very well into this channel sponsorship thing and the idea of bias. Because one of the arguments against the whole idea of channel sponsorships, taking money, anything, is that it biases and it colors your opinion of things. And I think it's a fair point, but I do want to actually touch on the topic itself because I think that topic is a lot more interesting. So let me do a little switcheroo. I'll switch over to that video, and when I come back, I'll play you a little snippet of it. Okay, so here we are, and this video is called Can You Trust MKBHD? And this is actually from back in 2020. So at the time, there was a lot of discussion at that time about, and stop me if this sounds familiar, there was a discussion about this time of tech reviewers, and if they did a sponsored video, they'd be considered a shill. Or if they received, a review unit, they're like, oh, well, you said nice things about them because they sent you a review unit, or because they're sponsoring the video, or because of this or that. And conversely, if they didn't offer a review, it's like, oh, well, you're just hating on them because they're not sponsoring you. Or if you don't say anything at all, why do you hate them? And this video was kind of addressing that idea. And it's about a 14 minute video. I'm just going to play you a little snippet, but I'm going to give you a link to this in the description if you want to check it out yourself, because I think it's a very interesting breakdown of how MKBHD, as a channel with now 15 million subscribers, and at that point he had, I think, a little over 11, but as somebody with 15 million subscribers, and this video alone, just talking about this concept for about 14 minutes, it has 4.1 million views. To put it into context, I've had a couple of videos that went viral earlier on. I've given the history of the channel before. I had a couple of videos that went over 1 million views, but if I add up the entire view count of the entire channel with everything, all hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos I've ever done, I think I've got a little over 3 million views, 3.2, I don't remember the exact number, but this single video alone has more views than my entire channel combined. And I wouldn't be the only one in the space who's in that boat. Like, 4.1 million views for one single video. When you can command that type of an audience, the sponsors fall over themselves to work with you. And don't think for one second that the dollars they're offering, like these are real dollars. This isn't like, in our world of sports cards, like any sponsorship or partnerships or whatever, they're a drop in the bucket compared to what you can draw if you've got 15 million subscribers and 4 million views for a video, or a couple million views per video every single time out. You're going to be able to command a lot more respect in that space and really be able to dictate your terms in a way that nobody in this space can even come close to doing. It's, completely two different universes. But inside of this video, in this little snippet I'm going to play for you, he actually touches on one piece beautifully. Now, you know that I usually like to play these videos at, two times speed or whatever, but I want you to absorb this. So I'm gonna put it at regular speed just so we can listen to it for a second. I'll play the clip. I think it's maybe about a minute, but I want to touch on a couple points. So I'll play the clip for you, and then I'll come back with a couple of words, and then we'll wrap this thing up and call it a day. So here we go.
For a while, I plan on bringing that back. So you can accuse me of being biased? Sure. All of us reviewers, we have our preferences, and basically you can calibrate yourself to all of our preferences. But what you can't accuse me of is being paid off for a positive review. Because at the end of the day, whether I say a positive or a negative thing about the product, that's just me keeping it real. Oh, and for the whole, if you say nothing, then people ask, well, why do you hate them so much and not talk about them? That whole thing, man, it's like we have to pick and choose our battles over here, man.
Now, I wanted to play that, so it was actually a little shorter than I thought. But regardless, the point that came across is really good. And it touched on a piece, like I said, when I saw Dakota's video, kind of having to explain himself a little bit after making the tongue-in-cheek video in the first place, that was kind of fun. Again, the entertainment value for somebody like me, knowing all the principles involved, is kind of fun. But at the same time, it led me back to this point here about the bias thing. Obviously, we talk about, Dustin, he's getting a little bit of flack for having the SGC sponsorship and doing the video where he was talking about SGC versus PSA 10, which is the endless debate. I did my video where I basically just said it's a pointless, dumb debate. I stand by that. It's a pointless, dumb debate. I think it's dumb. But, and I don't care who says it. It's still stupid. And I said it's a feature. I said market inefficiencies are a feature. So again, I'm taking the general idea here, but I'm also expanding the point and I'm making my argument. My argument is that all these things, if they're true, which in this case I think is I think is fair. If you want to say that an SGC 10 is equivalent quality to a PSA 10, that's fine. We can talk about the resale thing, though. That's also fine. And those are objective points. Those are things we can talk about the discrepancy between the two. That's an objective point. You can talk about preferring one to the other. That's subjective. That's your personal opinion. That's fine. But in reality, there is no discussion. There is no debate. It is what it is at the moment. Can it change? Yes. Is it something that we can take advantage of? Yes. And that was the point that I wanted to that I made with my video. I said, look, instead of complaining about it, just take advantage of it. Understand what the space is, educate yourself on what's going on, understand it, and use it. Use it to your advantage, because that to me is where you really can take advantage of it and really, advance your cause, whether you're a collector or a dealer or whatever the case may be, wherever you fall in between. Take advantage of these things. But the point here that MKBHD made is perfect, because as soon as you take on a sponsor or a partner for the channel, whatever the case may be, the first thing people are going to say is, okay, you're biased. That's why I say it plays into this conversation that I started the video off with. It's going to say, okay, you're biased. Okay. So the question is then, how do we as the consumers then interpret and work with it? My stance, just to clarify, is I have no problem with any channel taking a channel sponsorship. I have no problem with the channel coming to a deal, having a code for their subscribers or this, that, or the other thing, an affiliate link, all those things. My opinion stays the same as what it's always been. My opinion is that I think it's fine as long as it's clearly disclosed, as long as the nature of the relationship is clear. We shouldn't be having to ask you. It should be very clear in somewhere in there, in the description, hopefully in the video, what that relationship is, so that then, taking MKBHD's point here, you can calibrate yourself to the reviewer, so to speak, or the person offering the opinion, and then decide how much credence you want to give to their opinion. That is how we as consumers can then decide how much attention we should give to your opinion on this matter. If you as a sponsor, as you being sponsored by this company, means that in the past you said they suck, all of a sudden now they're a channel partner. Oh, they're fantastic. Well, then we can't really take what you say seriously because, well, your opinion changed because now somebody's cutting a check. But if you said they were good, and now they're a channel sponsor and you're saying they're good, okay, it still means that there's some inherent possible bias in there, but we can calibrate ourselves to it. And at the same time, there is a consistency in your message. So if there's a consistency in your message, then fair enough, fair game. But you as the viewer can make that decision as long as it's clearly disclosed and as long as you know what the situation is. Where it gets a little bit murky is if it's not completely clear. It's like, okay, so are they sponsoring your channel? Are you doing an infomercial for them and not telling us that there's a underlying relationship, whether it's monetary or whether it's simply consideration down the road? I can't speak to that, but something like that would be problematic to me because it's not clear. If it's not clear, that's where I think we run into some problems. As long as it's abundantly clear, though, hey, I'm sponsored by X, and therefore I'm wearing, it's the Wayne's World thing with Garth going, it's kind of sad when people do things just because they get paid, and that's kind of sad. But as long as you're wearing the Reebok hat, the Reebok jumper, and the Reebok shoes, well, then, we're kind of all in on the joke. Then it's fine, so be it, because at least you know where you stand. But if, to the MKBHD's point about a reviewer, if you calibrate yourself to the reviewer and understand what it is they're doing, then it becomes easier for you to absorb and process that. Doesn't mean the video has no value. It just means you need to take into consideration what it is they're doing. An example of this, and a good one, that I've thought about in the past, is reviewers of stuff like movies or music. Music is probably a better example. If you've got a reviewer for music that really doesn't like a certain genre, they might rate an album more harshly than somebody else who actually is a fan of the genre. But then you as a person who knows this reviewer's tendencies can say, well, actually, they don't really like rap music, or they don't like hip hop music, or they don't like rock music. So when they're doing a hip hop, rap, or whatever category they don't like, if they're reviewing that album, probably they shouldn't be reviewing that album. But if they are, then probably if I calibrate based on my knowledge of their past, I can say, okay, if this person gave that rock album a 6.5 out of 10, probably it's maybe a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 in reality. They're a little bit harsher than normal comparatively, based on my taste in the past. And then you as a consumer can calibrate your opinion based on how they've done in the past with their opinion on other things. That's the calibration part. That's how you figure out, okay, does that mean the reviewer is useless to you? No, but it means maybe they don't like it, but you already know in the past the stuff they don't like tends to be stuff you like. Then maybe you go the other way on it. If they say they don't like it, actually, maybe it's worth me taking a closer look. or maybe they say they like it and you know that usually the stuff they like isn't your thing, then maybe you stay away. So again, you can calibrate yourself, even with reviewers who have some built-in bias or that you believe have some built-in bias. You can still get some value out of it potentially, or just tune off and don't watch it. It's one of those things where you as the consumer have the power to decide what makes the most sense for you. That's why I wanted to make this video about the channel sponsorship and the bias thing. One thing down the road that is going to be a bigger and bigger thing as we go along is the content creators that survive this quiet time in the hobby where things are down. Those are going to be the folks that some of these companies are going to go to. It's just the nature of the beast. I do think a lot of hobbyists who watch a lot of this stuff, they really do feel like, hipsters in the sense that it's like, well, I liked it before you sold out, man. It's like, well, look, content creation in the space is not exactly a fulfilling, thing as far as time compared to what it comes out of it. And that's not a woe is me thing. It's a reality. And if somebody can make a couple of dollars on this channel sponsorship and still be able to provide you content that otherwise you enjoy, and you as the consumer calibrate it accordingly and get the value out of it that you can, that I think that's fine. I think that's one of those things. Again, we're not operating the same space here as like MKBHD, who can turn down probably 6 and 7 figure deals. None of us are anywhere near that space. But the folks that do, let them do that. And if you decide that, hey, I think their opinion has changed as a result of this, well, then fair enough. Then calibrate accordingly. Watch the videos that interest you, or just don't watch them anymore. And then, the message will be sent. The proof will be in the pudding, and the numbers will bear out. And it'll tell us in the long run whether it was a good decision or a bad decision, whether they were able to maintain some level of objectivity, or whether their image, their view was completely colored by that relationship. But the number one thing for me is and will always be disclosure. As long as it's disclosed and you as the consumer know exactly what it is, and when you're watching these videos, you are a consumer. So if you, the consumer, know exactly what you're getting into and you know what the deal is, then I think it's fair game, and whatever happens from there is whatever happens from there. Just some thoughts I wanted to have. Again, this was a little bit more of a philosophical thing, me starting off with a fun thing, and then bring this one in. I'll give you a link to this video as well in the description. I do recommend, if you've got a little time and are interested, check this one out, because it is an interesting insight into a very large YouTube channel that really is a business at this point for Marques Brownlee here. That is a business for him. In reality, the amount of stuff they do, and he's got like a warehouse studio full of all these different. In the years since, he's even expanded this even further. So at this point, that is a cottage industry for him. It is his job to run a YouTube channel and business. It's a completely different universe if you really think about it. And how he makes decisions on which sponsorships to take on, which not to take on, how to disclose, how to make clear what the disclosures are. It is a fascinating view into a different world, because in a lot of these other categories, people are less hung up on it. I think a lot of folks are very odd in the sports card space, where they're cool with people spending thousands of dollars to rip boxes for their entertainment or whatever the case may be. But as soon as anybody asks for a dime, it's this sacrilegious thing. It's very strange. It's very odd. The idea that it brings in some bias or distance you from your audience, I think that's a fair critique. But then you as the audience member can decide whether it makes sense to you or not, or whether you trust the judgment of the individual, whether they disclose it to your satisfaction, that you feel you actually understand what it is they're doing. And if those things are true, well, then you can figure out what to do from there. But if they're hiding stuff from you and they're kind of being murky about it, well, then maybe that'd be somebody that I'd consider clicking off from. Just some things to think about. I'd love to get your opinion on it as well. Just good, bad, or indifferent, throw your opinion in there. Otherwise, more videos coming up on the channel. We'll do the live stream on Friday, where maybe we'll talk about some of the happenings this week. Also, see if any other announcements come out of the National. We're waiting to see if anything else comes out of that. And also, at the same vein, whatever else you guys want to talk about. So it'll be Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll talk about, I think we'll have the usual cast of characters on for the most part. See if we can get anybody from the National to at least give some reports and see kind of what's going on from there. And then we'll take it from there. Thanks very much. We'll catch you in the next one.